Big news out of Washington. Yesterday on June 17th, the U.S. Senate passed the Genius Act with a 68-30 vote, marking the first federal framework for stablecoins in the United States. This changes everything. This bill is great for the U.S. dollar, and it's fantastic for Bitcoin. So the Genius Act, and I've spoken about this before, but it's short for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins, and it lays the legal groundwork for how dollar-backed stablecoins can be issued, managed, and regulated. It brings stablecoins out of the legal gray zone and into the world of structured compliance. And that's a seismic shift for digital finance and for monetary infrastructure. So here's how the numbers break down. The bill requires every stablecoin issuer to hold $1 in reserve, cash or treasury equivalent, for every $1 of stablecoins they issue. That's a full reserve mandate. So no fractional reserve banking, no leverage, no nonsense. If an issuer has more than $50 billion in circulation, they're subject to monthly public disclosures and mandatory annual audits. So that captures the majors, those being Circle and Tether. And it's not as if they're not already doing this. This just puts it into law. There's also a clause giving consumers senior creditor priority in the event of a bankruptcy. So if a stablecoin issuer goes bust, users are first in line to get paid from reserves. And that's a massive upgrade in user protection. And marketing has to be honest. So no dressing up these tokens like they're FDIC insured or backed by the U.S. government. You issue a dollar-backed token, you have to say what it is. So let's zoom out for a second. In 2024 alone, stablecoin settlement volume surpassed Visa, Mastercard, and Amex. They're not fringe tools anymore. They're the rails of the U.S. dollar for the 21st century. And now, thanks to the Genius Act, those rails are being reinforced with steel beams. This legislation strengthens the dollar's global dominance by giving dollar-backed tokens regulatory clarity. It clears the path for compliant growth domestically and abroad, and it allows new entrants to have a clear framework as to how they need to issue them. JP Morgan is now considering issuing a stablecoin, and I don't think this would have happened if the Genius Act hadn't moved through the Senate and was on its way to getting passed into law. And it also reinforces one of Bitcoin's most important and reliable on-ramps. But let's not look at the current chains these stablecoins are being issued on. Let's look toward the future to see just how stablecoins could continue reinforcing Bitcoin from an adoption and a price perspective. So Tether is now building on Lightning using Taproot Assets, or Taro. That means stablecoins on Bitcoin. So the Genius Act makes that path easier to walk. This bill helps the dollar scale digitally, and it makes Bitcoin settlement layer the place where that scaling can happen. So the US dollar isn't disappearing, it's changing shape, and it's increasingly riding on open, borderless monetary rails like Bitcoin. So what's next? Well, the bill goes to the House of Representatives, where it'll need to be reconciled with the Stable Act before final passage. That's expected before the August recess. Politically, this bill isn't without drama. Some Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, voted no, objecting to the exemption it grants to Trump and his family from restrictions on stablecoin issuance. The bill bans lawmakers and executive officials from issuing dollar tokens, but carves out an exception for the current president, and that didn't go unnoticed by our very own Elizabeth Warren. But the bill's backers argue it's now or never. Delay too long and dollar innovation goes overseas. Meanwhile, markets are reacting. That's one way to put it. Circle, the second largest stablecoin by market cap, had its stock jump 18%. And when I initially had gone through this data, it was trading as high as 176. It's now 183 on the day, as you could see right there. And of course, this is the day after the Senate vote, now that markets are open. And this is the market's reaction. Investors are betting big on a regulatory green light, unlocking massive new demand, huge new issuers like the hugest banks in the United States, like JP Morgan, and they should, because it's happening. Stablecoins are going mainstream, and they're doing it with Washington's stamp of approval. The Eurodollar market was once an emergent offshore form of the dollar, unregulated, nimble, and global, and created in the open market because there was a need for it. And eventually, it became a foundational piece of the global dollar system. Stablecoins are following that exact same path. So the Genius Act doesn't kill dollar innovation, it absorbs it. The US dollar isn't going anywhere, it's just changing form, and that's fantastic news for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is becoming the foundation for where that form of the US dollar lives. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, make sure to check out Horizon. It allows you to stack Bitcoin using your home equity. Visit joinhorizon.com or scan the QR code right there to learn more and get started. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.